Very nearly about sailing. June 2023. I said that some of these were going to be a bit short, and this is one of them. Lots of reasons, partly obviously health, pain in the neck, but also because I'm preparing to do, I want to do the holding tank in HDPE, at least try it out. And for that I need to build up several skills. I noticed when I was trying to do the water tank, it was just a bit sloppy. I wasn't doing accurately enough. The welding itself was okay, but the cutting of the HDPE and the way I was sort of clamping the plastic wasn't really working. So I'm doing a woodworking project today. I've actually bought myself a set square, you know, right angle thing. Never had one before, and it makes a big difference. So there's just a tiny little woodworking project. Don't feel you have to watch it, because it's not desperately interesting, not desperately about anything, but it worked. So I proved myself that I can do it. And the other thing is I've been doing lots of work on my beautiful, beautiful antique 130-year-old piano, which has included doing the regulation, ivory key tops, making sure the set-off is okay, the lost motion is adjusted, dampers are all cleaned, hammers are reshaped, you know, all of that. Huge amount of work that's actually gone on. But you'll have to wait for the full set of videos on that. But I'll give you a quick spoiler alert. I'll give you a quick preview right now. So here we go. It's a test. This is adjusted to perfection. Damping is lovely. All the up weights, down weights, absolutely perfect. It's superb. Really, really pleased. It's taken absolutely ages, but totally worth it. So yeah, all the things I just said that I've done to it, absolutely true. There's only one thing to be aware of, and that's the only note that's finished. You can play the one note samba on it. That's about all. And even that song changes. Anyway, enough of this nonsense. Let's get back to doing this very simple woodworking project. Don't feel you have to watch this, because if you can do woodworking stuff, it's just going to be boring. But anyway, either watch this or I shall simply see you next month. Cheers, bye then. Right, after my debacle of making the piano lifter and having to paint it because it was so bad, I bought two new tools, which I've never had before. I've got a toy right angle thing, which I can't even find at the moment, but I've got these. And I've got a tiny project I want to do on the bike. I just need to get this back end lifted up because I had a problem with the derailleur gears, which got scruffed up. So I just want to make a little wooden frame just to test these out. Right, for no good reason, check the yeah, the microphone's on. For no good reason, I'm doing a 45-degree on this end and straight across that end, as I say, just for the practice of it. And I've done this one already as a bit of a test, and I found that I'm no more or less accurate depending on whether I use one of those or one of those. I think those are easier for longer pieces, but that's really not a problem. Now I could obviously just draw this up and cut it based on that shape, but I'm going to see if I can measure it and cut it and get it reasonably accurate. First thing to do is don't assume the ends are straight, because they're not, which is one of the mistakes I made previously. So the first thing is obviously just to, this is so easy. Wow, if I'd have assumed that was straight, that is so far out. The noise is off, by the way. A professional actually doing this properly with proper tools, much more accurately, much easier. But he does it for a living. I would starve if I was doing this for a living. And that is pretty good. I reckon with softwood and doing that, you can do it within about a pencil line's width. And now I need to do a 45 degree on the other side. You can see it's the first time I've used one of these, don't you? And then simply slide that down to the mark. So not exactly the same, but near enough, a lot straighter and a lot better than I've done in the past. And I shall do a bit of sanding and straightening out to actually get that a nice joint. And let's see if that's 90 degrees. Well, it's nearer 90. Whoops! It's nearer 90 degrees than I could have got any other way. So I just can't believe. I mean, all of you watching out there who do any woodworking, you'll have about 3 or 4 of these that you've had for hundreds of years. Can't believe I didn't have one. Hey ho. Right, there's some very odd clamping being going on here. Not ideal, but anyway, I ran out of time a little bit yesterday, so let's unclamp this. This will be in no means perfect, to say the very least, but you can't expect when you're practicing stuff to get it perfect. Look at that, I've accidentally glued some of the anyway. No, not perfect at all, but good. Now, of course, I made it deliberately difficult by doing it at an angle rather than a right angle. As I say, to practice. Right, I'm always chopping my head off when I do these things. Not literally. I mean, I do put enough safety in place to make sure I don't actually do that. But I was thinking maybe I should rename this channel. If I can do this, then so can you. I haven't tested this yet, so let's have a look with the set square. Proper set square. Is this at right angles? Gosh. Look at that. Joint's not fantastic. I'll be the first to admit that, but that's at right angles with just, you know, using techniques which I've never used before. I've tried to rely on skill and I don't have any, so that's a bad thing. So as I say, if I can do this, you can. Not a big job, not a massive thing for a woodworker to do. Never claimed to be a woodworker. Wow, look at that, that's absolutely... Couldn't get a cigarette paper between that, that is absolutely at 90 degrees. Right, so I'm not specifically trying to do this as a sort of scrap heat challenge type thing, but these are all spare components, and I had some of these brackets that I was going to use on the piano tilter thing, but then I decided not to. So simply by sticking one of these to one of these, here's one I did earlier. You see that? So I can't see the viewfinder, so yeah, there's a little sort of lug thing there. So my idea is, and there's a bit in the frame there that kind of, that can hook onto. And I think you can already see how that's going to work once I get this straight. So it's not rocket surgery or brain science, but very simple, all made out of scraps. Perhaps we ought to do a scrap heap challenge actually, that would be good. I'm sure there's somebody on the internet somewhere who does a version of it. or perhaps all the DIY channels, all the DIY videos that I've done are basically scrap heap challenge ones. It's a proper woodworker wouldn't be able to do this, but even, you know, these weren't perfectly flat, and I want them to be perfectly right angles, but it's very easy though. What you can do is pop this on, mark the little high spots, shave off where you've marked a little bit. Recheck it. And then just carry on. It takes the guesswork out of it. I mean, it's already, trouble is that I think you can get too much for perfectionists. It's already better than I would normally do it, but let's carry on with that. Right, so I've just screwed this together using these very long screws. So just drilled through the bottom, screwed it in. And it's certainly nice and sort of tight on there. Is it perfect? No, far from it. But it's an awful lot better than I could have done before. And what I would have done before was simply accept there was a gap in the bottom, plaster it with epoxy. I think that is good enough. And that's more or less perfect from that side, obviously. But if this is your first time on this channel, you might be wondering why I'm making such a fuss over this. Go back and watch the mystery object being made. I can't remember what it's, second, third videos, and you will have seen some horrendous woodwork. So for me, this is good, and it is all about practice. The more you practice correctly, the better you get. That's true of pretty much everything, I think. So anyway, I'm going to put the other one up, see if it's about the right size. Do this one, glue it together, and then I was going to intend to have this clamped on this all the time, but I might put a couple of sort of tines coming out here. Don't know. Mustn't get carried away. Perhaps a little mural or something, or my name plastered there or something. Right, so if I wasn't videoing this, I could pretend I'd done this deliberately. This one at the top of the set square is about 1.5 millimeters leaning inwards, and this one, top of the set square, is about 1.5 to 2 millimeters leaning inwards. So I could say that was actually a design thing, because when I put the bike in, I want these to kind of squish against it. So did it work, you ask? Yeah, that's basically all it does. It holds the back wheel off up, and that is pretty solid. Everything measured rather than making a cardboard thing first. Solid as a rock. Probably wouldn't want to sit on it, although to be quite honest that'd be fine. And I can get to the derailleurs and adjust them. At the last moment I messed it up a little bit because I put these triangular things on because I wasn't convinced it was strong enough, but you know what, it would have been. Let me just show you the locking mechanism. It's difficult to see this, but this silver clip fit here just clips very neatly into a little sort of bracket thing that's on the this rack, and as I said, I've measured it absolutely spot on, so it fits in perfectly and solidly. So why did I do this again? It's basically I'm standing up in comfort, and I can fiddle about and change the gears on the derailleur system. You can hear that it's clicking, that's not quite right on the socket, so it all needs adjusting. It seems to skip a couple of gears. And part of the reason I'm doing it is because that jumped too far off and got stuck behind there, and I need to put one of those disc things in. So much easier, and of course I can take the wheel off and everything, because this is not dependent on anything else. But see, it seems to skip that one. Just needs adjusting. So, as well as being absolutely a beautiful piece of practically Chippendale furniture, it works. Right, so that's it for this month. Not an awful lot happened, but as I say, I wanted to test this out because next month I'm hoping, and I will only put this out if I actually manage to finish it, is I'm going to take this HDPE, cut it up, weld it, using much more careful techniques, and make a holding tank and then pressure test it. My water tank effort, which actually is sitting in the corner, I won't move it, was a bit of a failure. And looking back on it, I think it was because I just didn't cut things carefully enough. Things were bowing, I didn't clamp it carefully enough. I think the actual welding bit itself was probably the bit that was most successful. It was the basic stuff behind that. As they say, preparation is key. So, this was just a short one this month. I'm going to make another thing. I've got some very thin ply board, and I'm going to make a sort of CD case thing out of it, just to get used to cutting long pieces of wood, but I won't bore you with that. So hopefully, fingers crossed, next month will be HDPE welding, which I know is something that a lot of people are very keen to have a go at. I'm certainly no expert, I'm just giving it a go. And as I say, the theme of this video is if I can do it, anybody can do it. And most of you can do it better. And if you can't do it, you can learn it. And I can learn it. I'm totally confident in that. I'm not particularly skilled at this stuff, but the more you do it, the better it gets. Simple as. I didn't used to be able to do fiberglassing. Now I feel very comfortable in the fiberglass world. Starting to get a bit more comfortable with wood, and the next thing is HDPE welding, because I can imagine there can be some very interesting projects that arise from that. In the future, who knows? 3D printing, that'd be a nice one. Right, anyway, enough of this waffling on. See you next month.